The views and opinions expressed on this program do not reflect the company, owners, management, staff, clients, or partners.
It's Monday, the 20th day of December 2021. Welcome to the Daily Hour, brought to you by Medical House One Communications and Lindos. I'm Jamel Hartman. She's Sherry Vanderpool, and Leanna Lambert will be with us in a bit to bring you the latest in her news break, brought to you by People's Pharmacy. How was your weekend, Sister Sherry?
Oh, look at you sounding all sweet this morning. It was wonderful. Yeah, it was great. And then got my hair done yesterday, so no weeks, no breaks.
You know, because Leanna didn't notice. I was going to say, her looking stylish and profilish and,
Profilish.
Shucks. She don't know
Showing your age. Showing your age. But yes, I got it pressed. And for any Black woman that knows, I don't know if this is going to last, the humidity, because it could still go curly if water hits it. So, like, water is kryptonite.
As you can see, that is not my language. I don't have those problems, folks. But
but the audience understands.
Looking good. Well, let's hope so. There's a lot of Jamels out there. I believe it.
It's only one.
This is true. Good morning to you, Charlotte Fox. Good morning, David Michael R. Wilson. Happy Christmas week to you all, Miriam, Janet, and Anika. Good morning to all of you, and thanks for making us part of your daily routine. Another good one today as we welcome the executive chairman of CADA, Anthony Santucci, to the show for another important conversation. We've got some more Christmas trivia for you as well, so you know how that's been rolling. Sherry's been doing pretty well, actually. She's been doing pretty well. So look, they love you here. Look at them. I mean, your people are out there, you know.
Thank you. Your struggle, yes.
Yeah, they're out there. Don't worry about that. I noticed it first, folks. Don't do that to a brother. I noticed it first. All right, I noticed it first. Despite what her and Leanna will have you believe on air, I noticed it first. But anyway, they're gonna let me have that one, I hope, because Leanna comes in firing sometimes. She really does. She really does.
It shows people problems. You know, you couldn't see that much. But go ahead. Let's get into the discussion real quick.
I heard that. Nicole Walker says, good morning. If you were here, Sherry, you would be ducking the rain. Yeah, it's looking a bit windy out there. They're talking about I'm too late. But they love to hear. I love this, folks.
Thank you.
Folks, if you haven't already, make sure you go to our website, thedailyhour.com, and make sure that you subscribe. Go down to the bottom where it says join the family. Make sure you put your email address in. Make sure you subscribe. We will be giving away a little prize this week for one lucky winner who filled out our survey that was on our website. And thank you to all who participated in that survey. We have a lot to discuss over the next 2 days. Obviously, sometimes conversations change, and that's what's happened today. At the end of this show, we'll be showing you a video made by Bermeems on behalf of the Bermuda Tourism Authority, the Hotel Association, and Department of Workforce Development. But before we get there, we can't ignore the reality that is what's taking place in Bermuda. There was a young man lost his life in the early hours, it looks like Saturday morning, over Friday night, and it was due to violence. I'm not quite sure how I feel about what's been stated in the police reports, because it just seems so abnormal, like there's a lack of humanity in everything. But from what it says is no one called the police. I don't know where the place is where it took place, but people say it's near the St. David's police station. This is unfortunate. It's bad. And the question, that we're going to put out this morning is, are we doing enough to address the root cause of violence in our community? Are we doing enough to address the root cause of violence in our community? Now, before you answer that, all of us may disagree at what the actual root cause is. Keep that in mind. Keep in mind, we may not agree in what the root cause is, but we're not asking what the root cause is. We're asking this morning, are we doing enough to address what we might believe individually is the root cause of violence in our community? That's the question.
So I feel at times that Bermuda is just on this hamster wheel. We just keep running in the same space. We put out programs, we take away programs. We put out this, we do this. We change ministries, we change this. It's always this unsettled feeling from the very beginning. And I think that's one part of it. The second part of it, which they kind of go hand in hand, we have generational trauma that continues to run through families from many, many years ago, that there has been no one there to interject in that cycle, which goes again with what I just talked about in regards to, we have a program, we don't have a program, we have money for it, we don't. We can't address the root cause of violence in a community if we don't have a stable program of some sort to interject and stay consistent. Bermuda is not consistent when it comes to these things. We say it, we put it out there, everyone gets excited, we put a little bow on it, and we're like, yes. Then 2-3 years from now, it's like, where was that program? Oh, we had to shut it down because of X, Y, and Z. It's like, can we just be consistent with something? Can we get the right people in place for these things to be addressed and it be consistent? Can we not use a totally American program to address Bermudian problems? You need to take what you can from those things and make it something for Bermuda. It's not to say that there aren't those great ideas out there, but we're not doing enough to address it if we're here talking about this again, Jamal. Like, I'm gonna be honest, like, I don't want to talk about it. You know what I mean? Because it's just so disheartening. It's just so sad. It's all of those things. I know it needs to be a conversation, but it's just like, we were here last month. Like, it's just,
James Birch says the collective we is not doing enough to address it. Charlotte Fox says it's happening too often that it's the normal too many times. Miriam Simmons says, I believe those who know something should speak up, but fear is real, especially on this small island. Unfortunately, it's very sad. Sam Cat Play says, what really has me mad is the first responders are right down the road. Whomever took the young man to the hospital could have taken him to the fire station 600 feet away. I get all of that. I don't disagree with any of that. However, in the moment, I don't want to fault those who were probably trying to help in the moment, because in the moment, they're probably tunnel vision. Let's get this person to the one place they believe can save the person. I guess I'm addressing it, not the incident as a whole of what happened, but the root cause, so that we don't have to have these conversations of going to a fire station over the hospital. And, I'll use my upbringing, for instance, it wasn't so much fair. It was more or less what you can accomplish if you go this route. When you have parents, like my mother always made me believe there was a better way if I went this route over that route, right? I've been riding around Bermuda and I see signs for things like Mirrors Volunteers, and you see Big Brothers, Big Sisters. And this is no disrespect, because I think these are great organizations that are doing great things for people, right? But these organizations have been around. They'll continue to be around. The violence hasn't stopped. The violence hasn't stopped. I think what really disappoints me and concerns me, which I think concerns many, and Sherry, you said this, is, we were just having this chat not long ago about another murder that took place. And so the question is like, are we psychologically messed up as a community? Are we really psychologically damaged that we have now become so normal to the cycle where, as one person said on social media, after every murder, we become a community of philosophers. We go on with these great quotes. And then we go online and we share like these great memories and stories and RIP. I'll tell you, if you know something and you don't say nothing, keep your RIP. I don't want any of it.
You're part of the problem.
You are, and you cannot tell me. It was with this most recent incident. It was like one a few years ago, where it was a big crowd of people, and a stabbing took place. Now, you can't tell me with all the people that are there that no one saw who had a knife, no one saw who was involved. Folks, let's go right back. Let's go rewind right back to the root cause. The root cause of any problem is where you'll find a solution. But I think part of the problem is that we don't even understand collectively what the root cause is, right? To get there. You have someone who's out there saying, oh, it's a lack of church. Really? Religion probably leads to more wars in the world than anything else. But if that's how people feel, that's how they feel. Then you have some who say it's single parent homes. Well, I come from one of those. I've never been out on the street doing. So let's ask that one off for me, right? Some people blame the education system, right? I've only been a student in it. I think it's unfair to lay the blame at the feet of education. However, I do believe that laws and policies that are, put in place by a government do have a lot to do with how people are able to flourish in any community or society. So we can't agree on what the actual root cause is. Then back to the question, are we doing enough to address it?
No. Well, you know what, Jamal? We address it, but it's like you're saying, we're not addressing the root. We're going to sit up here and talk about, as you say, memories and talk about this, but what actions are really being done? What is being done? Why did even somebody feel that they needed to take a knife to a party? Like, and that's how I'm thinking. I don't know if one was there. I don't know even what happened, but someone felt the need to do that. Like, what was so bad? And when we talk about back in the day and you talk about the myths and all of those kind of things, it was one thing. It's like, oh, you see them sitting on the wall? That's not what you want to do when you grow up. You don't want to sit on a wall all day. Well, guess what? Nobody ain't sitting on a wall these days.
You're not lying. I mean, it's a different Bermuda, and that's not to say that old Bermuda was better, because where we are today is a result, as I've said ages ago, of where we were yesterday and the day before and so on. So it's not like a new generation just woke up and said, this is how we're gonna be. No, this came out of something, and we must never forget that. James Burt, Sherry.
How much of it is on all of us, the actions taken by the person who perpetrated the act?
And Nika DeShield says it's a combination of things: parenting, education, trauma, community involvement, lack of humanity, and compassion. I concur. And I don't want to, and Sherry, forgive me, because you did say trauma earlier, and I didn't want to act as if that's not top of the list. Let's be honest, that is top of the list. We are a community that still doesn't, especially Black men, especially us Black men.
It is definitely that.
Doesn't accept that trauma plays a role in our living.
And I think a heavy influence of of, so not just social media, but back in the day, cable influences. We as young Bermudians, especially these young black men or young children, are looking at what they see on TV, cable, now internet, social media, and they want to mimic what they see. And it's so unfortunate because guess what? Newsflash, it ain't reality. You know what I mean?
I'm gonna pick on Christians again because I've heard this. Since I was
Leave the
see,
Christians
no,
alone.
no, because it's easy. I remember when I was in Cedar Bridge and people were blaming music or TV or whatnot, and I was young. My mind was spongy, right? And I'm like, I love the little Kirk Franklin, but listening to Kirk Franklin never made me want to be a upstanding Christian.
And you know why?
No, why?
Well, not upstanding, but these influences that didn't because you had another layer to it, Jamal, that weren't going to be accepted. I'm not talking about Kirk Franklin, but any other music, things that happen in that were not going to be accepted in your household. So it's like twofold in the sense of, yeah, I like Lil Durk, I like all of these rappers and everything else, but I'm not trying to. Don't worry, Jamal. You should know these things. You went Cedar Bridge. I went Sands High School. You should know. But I'm not trying to mimic any of these things that I see that I jam to. You
Mhm,
know, I'm not trying to be Cardi B and all of what she does
mhm,
because it's the foundation.
mhm.
Some of these kids don't have it once they listen to that to go home and then to go school. It's still influenced, it's still supported. You still got the mama that's doing it with them and not in a fun thing, or the dad, or not in a fun way and say, hey, this is not how we really
So what,
act.
so what you're saying is, and I think I get your point. So I can I can listen to Tupac without trying to go out and reenact, but others probably aren't in the same situations where no, they can't just listen. They have to go out and reenact what he's doing. That you're saying there's differences.
I think its differences either reenact or it just also supports what it is that you see every day. You could listen to Tupac and be in that moment, but you may not be living in Tupac's world
Mm, mm.
as well. You know what I mean? And then, your mom may hear that and she's like, Jamal, why, that's not, or me, I would say, let's sit down and listen to these lyrics and break them down.
Mhm.
Because I broke down songs for a young lady. I was like, do you know what that means? Do you know what this means? And do you know where Rikers Island is?
Mm.
Because you're all like, she's like, no. I
No
was
disrespect to the Latino or Spanish speaking community, but that's why I couldn't get down with reggaeton back in the day because I'm like, I don't know what they're saying about me. It ain't about just bumps into a beat. What they saying about me? Not, if I don't understand the song, I'm not bumping my head to it. Jody E says we address it after the fact. We are a reactive community, not proactive. Which again, it's very sad. Jody, that seems to be the norm. Renee Simmons for you, Sherry.
There is definitely not enough being done. If they had to move him, why couldn't they take him to Firehouse, even if they felt it was an urgent? You think the hospital first, but the EMT are certified as well, and they're at the airport. And
Yeah.
but do people know that? Like, I mean, I don't know.
Charles H. Jeffers II says, in my opinion, the root cause of murder is a basic disregard for human life. For most of us, the taking of another life isn't something that we would even consider. Yeah, indeed, Charles, indeed. And Deborah Leah Joel Bell says, let's not broad brush Christian and the mindsets. What are you talking about? Please explain. Um, yeah, we're not talking about Christians. We used an example of Christians or Christianity, but whatever. Tamara Richardson says it is to agree the root of the root cause. I think it's a lack of attachment. We have no longer attached. We are no longer, sorry, we have many no longer attached to the community, self, family, or self. And thus the actions show no care or concern for themselves or others. Yeah, it's a lack of respect and definitely
Well, what
concern for others. James Burt says creating more regard for lives comes from family and community support. Go ahead, Shay.
And I said, and let's not forget, let's enter into video games that it's, shooting and killing and all of those kind of things. And then what happens? You just get another life or you wait your turn to get another one, right?
Mhm.
It's like nobody has the concept of that this is forever. you know. And I just somewhat disagree with Mr. Chavez. I think sometimes we do have thoughts of harming ourselves to a certain, not ourselves, others.
Yeah.
But and maybe I'm understanding what he's saying, but there's a line to be crossed because
No,
I've approached the line a couple of times, but I'm caught myself. Can't do jail in the States.
but I think to your point, Sherry, I think, and I think what you're saying is many of us get angry, we have thoughts, but our conscience doesn't allow us to move forward. I think that's what
Exactly.
you're saying. And I think we have to understand that there are people out there committing these acts who literally do things without thinking. Like their conscience doesn't tell them this is wrong. There is no moral barometer, right? And so I get it. Let's go to one more comment before we bring Leanna in. Manuela John says, read trauma. Some have to reorganize it and accept that they are influenced by it in order to address it. Yeah.
Recognize it.
Sorry. Yes. Recognize it. I will say this. I don't see this becoming better. I don't see this changing unless there's an all hands on deck situation. I remember when I was at a radio station many years ago, about 10 years ago, when the shootings were happening in Bermuda. And I said, there's enough people speaking out against this. There's enough people who have issues with this where we can control the streets. And there's not enough of them versus us. There's not. But yet, here we are 10, 12 years later, and we're still dealing with this. And if anything, this has probably become a normal part of everyday life in Bermuda. Who would have thought?
And some people in that life don't really want to be in it. You know, it's a sad situation.
Good morning, Lee. How are you?
Good morning, guys. I am doing great this morning.
All right, you got Coco back there.
Coco is, in full effect, looking bright as we need some good positive feelings right now with everything that we're experiencing here on the island.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. And unfortunately, you have to share some, bad news with us. And I know it's not what you like to do, but it is a part of what you do.
It is.
Over to you, Lee.
Happy Monday, and thanks Jamal and Sherry, and happy Monday to all of those who are tuned in with us today. I hope you all are having a great start to your day. I'm Leanna Lambert, and it's time for the Daily Hour News Break brought to you by People's Pharmacy. Well, shocking news flooding the island this weekend after police confirmed and named this weekend's stabbing victim as 23-year-old Asaji Bascom, who was one of the island's most prominent football players. A murder investigation has been launched following the incident, which took place in the early hours of Saturday morning in the Wellers Point Road area in St. George's. Now, officers were apparently at the hospital in connection with another matter when they were alerted to the victim, who was brought into the emergency department in a non-responsive state with what appeared to be multiple stab wounds. Mr. Bascom sadly succumbed to his injuries a short time later. Now, many among the community, including the Bermuda Football Association, dignitaries, and various social clubs, have publicly expressed their heartfelt condolences for Mr. Bascom, who played professionally overseas with clubs including Bristol City and Darlington FC, and was a key part of the island's history-making Gold Cup team in 2019. Now, police say that anyone with any information or footage from the event is urged to call the police serious crime unit on 295-0011 or 211, or you can call the Crime Stoppers hotline on 800-8477. We here at the Daily Hour extend our sincerest condolences to the Bascom family and many friends of Mr. Bascom. In other news, staff and students have received an updated testing schedule for COVID-19 to ensure a safe return to the classroom after the holidays. Now, the Department of Education advised that both staff and pupils must get a clear PCR test dated within 3 days of going back to school, which is to start on January 4th for staff and the 5th for students. The molecular diagnostic lab's schedule for the nearly 5,400 staff and students was sent out last week. Now, booking forms were officially launched on the government website today. A ministry spokesperson said that there were potential room for staff testing to be arranged before noon on January 3rd if needed. Private tests are also welcomed within 3 days of the return to school and need to be presented ahead of the return to class. And meanwhile, additional appointments for the COVID-19 vaccine boosters have been added for Pier 6 in Hamilton. Now, according to the Ministry of Health, there are a limited amount of appointments and will be looking to increase the opportunity for booster doses over the next month. Health Minister Kim Wilson says if your second vaccine dose was more than 6 months ago and you're 18 years or older, you are able to go online and book your booster, which can be found at gov.bm. Now, persons who are 65 years or older do not need an appointment. Those individuals can just walk into Pier 6. This news follows after the government recently announced that as of January 15th, all vaccinated persons will require a booster in order to receive a renewed safe key. Taking a look at today's weather, we have a high near 72 and a low near 62 degrees. It is a cloudy start to the day with rain developing and a chance of thunder. Now, the weather will ease later. However, a cold front continues to approach the island from the northwest. This front will bring occasional windy weather today, along with periods of wet weather from mid-morning. Now, conditions then settle overnight into Tuesday before developing low pressure to the southwest, which drives additional fronts through the region between Tuesday night and Thursday. That's all for our daily hour news break brought to you by People's Pharmacy. Now let's head back to Jamal and Sherry in the studio for today's Daily Focus.
Quick question. I'm totally ignorant to the whole safe key thing. So safe key, okay. How does it work? If you can only get it if you're vaccinated?
No. So if you're unvaccinated, you can also get a PCR test, which will give you a safe key. What they're saying is as of January 15th, all vaccinated persons will have to have a booster shot in order to receive a renewed safe key. So you have to get the booster in order to receive a renewed safe key.
But if you don't have any shot,
if you don't have, and if you're not vaccinated at all, you can still go and get a PCR test, which will give you a safe key.
You know what? COVID's really starting to do that calculus, statistics, geometry class for me because it's becoming more. Yeah, Lee, thank you so much for that. I'm going to try to figure this out in my head.
You're going to try to figure it out, and you're in time.
Yeah, you and Coco have a wonderful day.
Bye, Sherry, your hair looks phenomenal, girl.
Thank
phenomenal. Because I heard Jamal trying to throw me under the bus this morning.
I know.
But it's okay. I noticed it first, but it's all good.
And I know you noticed it first.
I try to get out of her without her remembering, and she just wouldn't let me in.
I'm on it.
Thank you, Lee.
Have a wonderful Monday. All right, Lee, thanks so much for that. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back with Anthony Santucci from CADA. Folks, do not go anywhere. This is an important conversation. It really is an important community conversation. Stick with us.
Hi, I'm Karen, a nurse at the old folks home. These long hours used to kill my feet until my hairdresser told me about a great place to buy a pair of clogs. Medical House. Finally, relief. They also carry uniforms in bright, bold colors. And not to mention the support stockings.
Karen, Miss Salter sped her bed again.
Oh gosh, these days I need all the support I can get.
Medical House has relocated next to the Dendytown Field, number 6 Bakery Lane, Pembroke.
John Barrett & Son, Bermuda's foremost distributor of fine beverages, is bringing on the joyful festivities this winter with Barrett Stone Ginger Beer. We've extolled the virtues of this traditional Bermudian drink before. It's refreshing and spicy and wonderful in the kitchen. Google cooking with ginger beer and you'll be amazed by the diversity and wow factor of the recipes. As our good friend Bruce Barrett says, bubbly, tasty, full of spice, refreshing and exciting. When it hits your taste buds, mate, full flavor is igniting. Lindo's, why go anyplace else?
All right, welcome back to the big show. She's Sherry Vanderpool. I'm Jamal Hartman. It's the Daily Hour brought to you by the great folks at Medical House, One Communications, Lindo's, and the People's Pharmacy. Sherry, it's time for a guest to come into his house. Are you ready?
I am.
All right. Anthony Santucci from CADA is joining us for a very important conversation. Folks, I know you all show us love. You keep showing up on YouTube and Facebook. Please make sure you share these conversations because these are community conversations that we're really hoping make a difference in our community. Mr. Santucci, welcome to the show, sir. How are you?
Good morning, Mr. Hartman and Ms. Vanderpool. Apparently, I'm supposed to tell you your hair looks amazing today.
Yes. See, just like a fine. See, this is a gentleman. Are you paying attention, Jamal? Are you tuned in?
My concern is like, what does it normally look like? It's because it looks. I thought it always looked good.
Yeah,
see,
but this is my point, Mr. Santucci. It looks great every day, and so from you picking one day is putting me in a position where I'm saying, well, what about yesterday? So thank you.
Well, say it, Vanderpool. You know, I thought it looked good all the time, but you know,
see,
I'm just a farm boy from up the hill.
Well, you know, I'm right behind you. But Mr. Santucci, thank you so much for doing this. And, we feel the work that CADA does is necessary in our community every day. But for those who may not know, what's the purpose of CADA?
Just a bit of history. And obviously, I've spent some time listening to your conversation this morning about many of the advocacy agency and helping agencies that really do their best to make a significant change in Bermuda's relationship, in CADA's case with alcohol, but dealing with a whole lot of challenges that we have inside our community as a whole. CADA is an organization that was formed roughly 60 years, 59 years this year, it'll be 60 years next year, by two alcoholics reformed. There could be such a thing, that wanted to make a significant difference in Bermuda's relationship with alcohol, and that was how CADA started. That led to the Council on Alcohol and Drug Abuse. We, at that point in time, encompassed many other drugs as opposed to specifically alcohol. And about a decade, I think it's like 11 years ago now, we actually reduced our focus once again back to specifically alcohol. The principal programs we run these days are TIPS, Training Intervention Procedures, which is mandated by law that all owners and managers of restaurants and or bars or nightclubs, anyone selling alcohol, serving alcohol, is TIPS trained. We have a very robust life skills program, which we deliver with our partner, Pride. And we also have the Let Us Drive program. The Let Us Drive program generally runs at 3:15 to 3:45 outside the LOM building on Reed Street. However, during this festive season, we are running it at 12:15 to 12:45, again, outside the LOM building. We were out Thursday, Friday, and Saturday of last week and the week prior to that. And we'll be out on the Thursday and Friday for New Year's Eve as well. And those are, and of course, advocacy. Advocacy is a significant part of our program. Let Us Drive, not Let Us Drive, I'm sorry. Sobriety Checkpoints was a program that CADA advocated for at least a decade before it came into fruition. It's out there.
Hold your thought, because I definitely want to get to you on that sobriety check thing, because we've been talking about that on
Sobriety check thing.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm calling it right now. You'll see if you've been watching the show. I have a question about that.
It's okay. It's okay.
It's become a community thing. But you mentioned a lot of things that are very important, especially the Drive Home program. But why is an organization like CADA so necessary for the community right now?
Well, as we've been in existence for almost 6 decades, clearly there's been a need for education as it relates to the consumption of alcohol and drugs in particular, as a broad sense, but alcohol in particular. I don't have to tell you about the Bootsy song, Bermudians Love to Drink. Well, we need to understand that if we don't have a healthy relationship with alcohol and or other drugs, but specifically alcohol in CADA's case, that tends to lead to all sorts of other issues, not just drinking and driving, but women that consume more than 2 drinks a day increase the chance of getting breast cancer by 20%. One of the most startling statistics coming out of the COVID era is that women are not only drinking more, but they're drinking harder. And I don't like to use that term, harder alcohols, but they're drinking spirits, and the fact that they are becoming more susceptible to other diseases as well. So alcohol and non-communicable diseases, breast cancer, are all things, when we talk about liver cancer and throat cancer, all these other things relative to alcohol that we really need to be talking about. I hear you saying for now, but I also heard you earlier say that, when I say you, I mean, obviously, the both of you discussed the long-term challenges that we as a community have had. Alcohol isn't new to our community. It's been a part of our life from day one. We were the principal stop of privateers between here and Barbados, and we have always had alcohol as a part of our community, and we need to understand and develop a better relationship with alcohol.
So sobriety checks.
You mean the sobriety thing?
All right. So you said years before it happened, the organization was supporting it, right?
Yeah. Advocating for it. I take supporting as a passive approach and advocacy as an active, assertive approach towards change.
Okay. So right now there's a debate politically, it seems, where it seems like the police and the opposition don't want the public to know where these checks are going to take place, whereas the government believes that it should be about encouraging behaviors to change, not criminalization. And so they right now would like to keep it as is. What is CADA's stance on whether or not sobriety checks should be made public in terms of where they're going to be, or we should be letting people know so that we encourage people not to drive under the influence?
Okay. That's actually not a really difficult discussion point from CADA's perspective. And I say that simply because in its initial discussions, CADA had with the government, and certainly with the now opposition and then government, was that sobriety checkpoints should obviously be as they are now. We should actually advocate that people know that sobriety checkpoints are out and when they're going to be out, what parishes they're going to be out, because sobriety checkpoints aren't meant to be punitive, and that's been CADA's position all along. They are about changing behaviors. I think Ms. Vanderpool talked about behavior changes earlier in this discussion, not about sobriety checkpoints, but about trauma and all the other drama that's going on. But it's got to be about changing attitudes, changing cultures. Changing attitudes and cultures isn't something that just happens automatically. It requires consistent, and I say that again, consistent application of whatever the solution you believe to be probable to change that education. If you want to change behavior in one human being, the science says that human being has to receive the message 64 times to get a change in their behavior. So That's critical. And, we say always bus cab designated driver, and we've been saying it for a decade. And people say, why don't you change that motto? Well, you know what? Because people need to we understand that people's behavior needs to change. And if we decide that we're going to get the motto of the week or the motto of the month, we can't expect substantial cultural change by constantly changing our mottos. We need to be consistent. Our messaging needs to be consistent. It needs to be current, yes, but consistent. And that's really so. We have always and have argued, quite frankly, that sobriety checkpoints have to be announced because we're about cultural change, not being punitive. And that has been our position prior to sobriety checkpoints becoming law, and it remains our position. Appreciate, statistically speaking, that you may capture more people with surprise sobriety checkpoints, but that's not CADA's position. We're not about surprising people. We're about cultural change, and it's got to be about cultural change, not just arresting people.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Go ahead, Sherry.
I'm sorry. I've been doing this for 2 decades now, and before the police were saying, let's get sobriety checkpoints, we were talking about sobriety checkpoints.
Mhm.
Wow.
We analyze about what type of sobriety checkpoints made sense to us. I'm going to say I'm a black male in this community because maybe I'm not so young anymore. However, we know what happens when you let them loose.
Yeah.
They get stopped.
Yep.
And we put in place, we articulated very specific ways to accomplish this task because we're sensitive to who historically has gotten stopped in our community.
Right.
And I don't have
And when
to
you
say it. But you know who I'm talking about. There's people that look like, not so maybe much me anymore, but certainly Jamal's still young.
That's
Yes,
right.
you
That's
know,
right.
but that's who got stopped. But we who also drink the most? Females drink just as much as men, but they never get stopped.
Talk to us. Go ahead now, Sherry.
But I was
Females drink as much as men, but you look at the numbers, you're like,
well, maybe
officer.
well, sometimes, our responsibility may be a little different than yours in that sense. And so what does the responsible behavior look like when you talk about drinking alcohol, when you say women drink and this, that, and the other? I think we have different viewpoints in that aspect when it comes to a group of men, group of women, and what it looks like afterwards. What's the responsible?
Our position at CADA is responsible alcohol consumption looks pretty much like this. If you're going to go out with a group of friends on any night of the week, that you put a plan in place to get home safely. That's responsible. No one's saying that you can't go out and have a good time, but you need to understand that if I'm going out on whatever night of the week it is, that I need to have a plan in place to get home safely.
Yeah,
Simple
that's
task.
simple. And saying that, and you talk about the program that you guys have
Let us drive.
for the Let Us Drive. How is that program being received? I see that it's still going on. And what is the statistics or the data on how many people are actually using that service?
No problem. Let Us Drive has been in existence for quite some time now. 13 years, I think my coordinator tells me. In that period of time, we've taken home 19,910 people, and that was only running one night a week. So that's one night a week outside the LOM building. We've gotten to 19,910 people. And why is it only run one night a week? Because that's what the resources allow us to do. One night a week. If we have more resources, then that would be obviously fiscal is important. Humans, obviously important. We have a great relationship with the Bermuda Taxi Owners Association. So we have some really good cab operators that support the program. Bacardi has been a massive support for this program. They have been a part of it from day one and continue to be a Herculean supporter of this program. We now have the Bermuda Road Safety Council, who are supporters of the program as well. So we're really glad that they're on board. And again, none of this could have good scene. She just runs a tight ship with some really good people down there.
Let me ask you this, Mr. Santucci, like how many taxis are a part of the program and how can taxi drivers become a part of the program if they wanted to?
Here we go. We currently have a core group of 4 cab drivers that run our program every week. And I say every week, and every Saturday morning, Friday night, Saturday morning at 3:00 in the morning, those 4 cab drivers are out there. They're ready. We have a coordinator that's been with us from day one. And thanks, obviously, to the cab drivers, but absolutely thanks to George, who's out there. Just think, George by himself has put 19,910 drunken Bermudians into a cab to help them get him safely. Would like to be a part of the program? Feel free to email us at info.cada@logic.bm or call us at 295-5982. But we have some really committed people that have been a part of this program for the last decade plus. And we are extremely lucky to have that support.
Got a few questions from the audience for you. Arita Wade's asking, do checkpoints change behavior, or do people just change their route home where possible?
I would simply say to Mrs. Wade, checkpoints and the fact that we advertise them may or may not in and of themselves change people's behavior. But what it does, based on your question as well, is give people the opportunity to say, you know what, there are checkpoints this weekend. I need to think about what I'm going to do. And if people have to stop and think about what they're going to do, or whether they're going to go drink and drive or get home, whether they have to change the way they get home, then you're in the process of changing behavior.
All right. Sam Cat Place asking, if the checks are not to be punitive, perhaps there could be a CADA rep at these points to drive these persons home, and they still get a warning from the police. Could this be considered?
I actually think that's a great idea. It's not an improbable idea. Again, it's about resources. If the resources are available, and there's no reason why a CADA rep and appropriate support system in terms of driver to get that person home safe couldn't be something that we actually look at. Never thought about it, but great idea.
All right. The questions are rolling in. They're rolling in. I'll put these next 2 questions in one. Sean Gooden's asking, is the Let Us Drive program just isolated to town, or does it include points in the east and west? And Sean Smith's asking, is the ride program free to the user?
Short answer is the program is free to users. And at this point in time, and well, since its inception, it certainly has been specifically in the Hamilton region. Again, it's about resources and expanding the program. If we have the necessary resources, we could go east, west, and central, but we don't have those resources. It's always, unfortunately or fortunately, comes down to resources.
Indeed. And I want to go back to a comment we shared on screen earlier. Rick Olson says CADA has done a great job along with their corporate sponsors, and I challenge other bar owners to offer designated drivers free non-alcoholic beverages. That means my good friend Heineken Zero, who I spend a lot of time with, folks, you can, offer them something like that. But what has been the response from bars, for instance, since we have a bar owner there? Have they been willing to work with CADA in certain instances to offer any kind of promotions to keep one person of a party designated?
So short answer is absolutely. Kudos and thanks to Rick, who's been a part of the sponsorship program. I would say I don't think there has been any restaurant and or bar in the city of Hamilton that, quite frankly, we have accosted, or the Road Safety Council has accosted, that have asked to be a part of the designated program, and they haven't been cooperative and said that absolutely. The real challenge, I suspect, becomes getting people to be the designated driver, for lack of a better description.
All right. And Nicole Walker, she's asking, saying, I remember hearing about and seeing CADA campaign ads more consistently throughout the year. No, not so much. What has changed?
The Let Us Drive program actually hadn't been operating since we went into lockdown in March of, when was that? March 2020. That actually put a kibosh on the Let Us Drive program. So clearly we weren't advertising it. We had just reinitiated it for this Christmas season. And like COVID, what we look like in 2022 will depend a large part on COVID. And if COVID, and we are managing or learning to live with it and ways to be healthy, then we look forward to the program continuing once again.
Indeed, indeed. And Mr. Santucci, before you head out, just let people know how they can get in touch with CADA if they want to support anything that you're doing in any way. How can they get in touch and reach you all?
There we go. info.cada@logic.bm is our email address. 295-5982 is our telephone address. And if you would like to donate, we are a charity, so we absolutely appreciate all support. Go to CADA.bm, click in the upper right-hand corner, and please feel free to donate to CADA. Thank you very much.
And one last message before you leave. Obviously, there's a lot of drinking that takes place during this time of year as we lead up to Christmas. Any message to the Bermudian people to just encourage them to that responsibleness as it comes to alcohol?
There we go. As we always say, always bus cab of designated driver. And if you're going to go out, please have a plan. Put a plan in place to get yourself and the rest of your party home safe. Always bus cab and designated driver, A, B, C, D. And CADA is volunteers, board of directors, and staff. Encourage everybody to have a safe and responsible Christmas and New Year's.
All right. Anthony Santucci, Executive Director of CADA, thank you so much for the conversation. Definitely want to have you back in the new year to just discuss some things that the community can do in support of what CADA is already doing. Have a wonderful holiday, sir.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Sherry, your hair looks amazing.
Thank
Always.
you.
And I have that hair problem like Jamal. So
See?
it is what it is.
All right, so see you soon. All righty.
Bye.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. If you appreciated that conversation with Mr. Santucci, give us a thumbs up, a love, a like. Make sure you share this kind of information. We're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be back. We're going to show you that tourism video, so don't go anywhere. If you haven't seen it already, you might be a little inspired. Stick with us.
Hi, Bermuda. As the festive season is upon us, I'm back again to remind you to shop local. Local retailers are filling their shelves with gifts and goodies for all of our holiday needs. And to make shopping even more exciting, you can play our holiday scratch and win at participating retailers. There's great prizes to be won, so shop local and have some fun. Scratch the card, and if you see 3 matching center bags, turn that card over and scratch to see what you have won. Have fun, Bermuda, and remember to shop locally this holiday season.
Eat, shop, and play in the Easies this holiday season for your chance to win a $500 cash voucher to your favorite small business in the BEDC Economic Empowerment Zone, Somerset, Northeast Hamilton, and St. George's.
All you have to do is spend $20 or more in any participating business, restaurant, or store. Simply scan the QR code on our flyers in store or visit bedc.bm to submit your receipt and contact information. Now until New Year's Eve.
Shop local, shop Bermuda, and support a small business this Christmas. For more information, please visit www.bedc.bm.
All right, welcome back to the big show. Sherry Vanderpool, myself, Jamal Hartman. Thanks again to Anthony Santucci from CADA. Yeah. Folks, don't forget, if you appreciate that conversation, you know what to do. Give us a thumbs up, a love, a like. Thanks again to People's Pharmacy, One Communications, Medicals, and Linda's for ensuring we're able to do this with you on a daily basis. We're going to do our daily play. Brought to you by Heineken 0.0. Great taste, no alcohol. Sherry, are you ready?
I hope so. I'm hoping my new hair will bring me some good luck.
Folks, it's a very easy one, so if you don't get this, I don't know what to tell you. I just don't know what to tell you. Here we go. What are the names of the 2 bandits in Home Alone, the first one and second one? What are their names in the movie?
I don't know. And it was on this weekend. I don't know.
Folks, please help Sherry out.
They're like actor names, or they're like
their names in the movie. What are their names in the movie?
I can't remember, Jamal. And it was one, and I watched snippets of it, and yeah.
Can anyone help Sherry, folks? What are the names of the 2 bandits in the Home Alone original and second movie? What are the names?
Cause you watch you watch him. That's your movie in it. That's your.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
their names are so obvious.
Has anybody said anything yet?
No, the audience is just as ridiculous as you, but I think they've
So
all got it.
it's not
They've got the answer. I'll share it with you. But
okay.
I was hoping
Yeah.
one of the names will come to you.
No. Go
No?
ahead
None
to
of
the
them come?
audience. No.
All right. Well, Mika the Shields is funny. She says Sticky Bandits, Mauve, and, well, she didn't finish. Kent Tacklin says Mauve and Harry, which
Yeah.
correct. And then Karen Simmons says Sam and Nick. Nope, not Sam and Nick. It was the Wet Bandits. I think they were the Wet Bandits in the first one, and then they changed their name to Sticky Bandits in the second. But Mauve and Harry were the names of the two bandits in the movie. I thought, Sherry, that was an easy one for you.
I watched Home Alone before, but it's not one of my consistent. I want to sit down and watch.
You gotta.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Okay. All right.
That's cool.
Okay, you've got some quick wrap up of today's show. Thoughts?
Tired of talking about violence. Can't we just do something already? Pretty much. And then, great conversation with Anthony Santucci with CADA. And I appreciate all the information that he has given. Just be safe during the holidays. Be safe.
Yeah. Indeed. No, I definitely agree. It's tough having these conversations over and over because you feel like, we just had this conversation. What's changed? What helped the situation, right? And every time you come back here, it's like, well, nothing's changed, right?
Yeah.
My hope is that collectively as a community, all of us can find common ground into what the root cause is and collectively say, you know what? This is how we're going to address it. These are the ways we can fix it. I feel like we're losing too many. First, senseless, and it can stop. We just have to want it to stop. As far as Mr. Santucci, I can't thank organizations like CADA enough for what they do. Obviously, you saw me smiling. The whole, I know it's no yes or no right or wrong answer with the sobriety checks, how they work, but I'm a proponent of not criminalizing people. And as a Black man, I'm glad that Mr. Santucci said that. As a Black man, sobriety checks should be made public because it's a slippery slope when you go the other route. I get what people are saying, but as a Black person, I can never support the idea of criminalizing people where there's opportunities to help them. And that's me speaking as a Black man, as a Black man. Right, that sees a system beyond what we want to see it for. So thank you for that. That said, we have a really, really awesome guest tomorrow, our youngest guest ever.
So excited.
If you don't know, check it out. But we're going to wrap it up today. Just want to say props to every last person, whether a cab driver, a hotel worker, anyone who has worked in the tourism and hospitality sector. Thank you for what you do. My mother, my aunt, my mother just being in there in some way part-time inspired me to kind of want to.
Mine too.
It's amazing, right? Walton Brown, the late Walton Brown once said, my parents were able to support their family and build our home off of working in the hospitality sector for 6 to 8 months a year. Obviously, times have changed, but we'll discuss tomorrow how we can encourage Bermudians to get back into that sector. Before we head over to this video, Sherry, any daily inspiration for everyone?
Yes, and I got to give a shout out to Mama Patterson, who's excited. She's watching on YouTube.
Welcome to the show.
On her big TV, so she's excited about that. So good morning, Mama. The time is always right to do what is right. Dr. Martin Luther King. It's the time, people.
It's always the right time, do the right thing. All right. Big shout out to Mama Hartman also watching, Mama P over there on YouTube. Thank you all for checking YouTube. Don't forget, if you haven't already, go to our website and subscribe. Make sure you subscribe. All right. So you can be in the know as to when we will be disappearing to reappear. Watch this video and then we will, well, you know what? We'll be back to wrap it up after this video. There you go.
I believe that we can, as an entire country, emerge out of this pandemic, positive and ready to move forward in the world. I think the products that we produce and the young people that will have that energy to get it done we will begin to see a Bermuda and a level of hospitality and a new era of hospitality that we've never seen before. The question is, do you wish to be a part of it?
Okay, so believe it or not, my very first job within hospitality was a landscaper.
Actually, that's funny. I had one of my best friends, his mother told me, because I wasn't really too sure what I wanted to do and get into university, because I was just into football, just into sports. She told me one day I'm a people's person, and then I get along with people well. So she told me that, the hospitality industry would be well for me. So I actually started off working at a pool and beach at Grotto Bay.
I feel like I've always been a people person. I've never really been a shy person. I've sang and danced since I was young. And when I was leaving Berkeley, I didn't really know what profession I wanted to get into. I knew I wasn't going to go to school for dance. So I tried out Bermuda College for hospitality management. I got an associate's degree. I came to Grotto Bay for my 12-week internship, and I've been here ever since.
For me, when I stepped into the hotel industry, it was more so just a fluke. I had just come out of college. I studied hospitality tourism management. I needed a job, and my aunt worked in accounting. So she said, hey, I think you would be perfect for this position. Why don't you try it? So I applied, had the interviews, was successful, started front desk. I picked it up very quickly and easily. I then was interviewed for a management trainee position. And from there on, I did assistant front office manager and I did front desk manager. So in 5 years, that's my entire time in Rosewood, I moved up to front desk manager. And then just recently, this year, I actually transferred to the sales and marketing department to do conference services.
When you think of hospitality, I think you think about the dining rooms. I think most relatives of our young people what they do get is the refresh of that my grandfather worked on the front door, or he worked as a maitre d' in the dining room, or he worked as a captain, or that he worked in housekeeping, or that my grandma or my aunt worked in housekeeping. And so you don't traditionally think of the hotel as a corporate entity that requires all the administration behind the scenes, the accountants. It requires all of the service clerks. It requires all of the administration jobs that are in any functioning bank, any functioning company throughout Bermuda. And if we start thinking about the hotel in its totality, then we start to see the hotel as a functioning company. It is a broad-based company with jobs for every person that exists in our country.
I am a management trainee on the leadership development program at the Hamilton Princess. My day in life is I'm on the rooms division part, where we basically oversee the daily operations, from making sure your rooms clean or public space areas are looking good. So basically the appearance of everything. So as soon as you come, first appearance is everything. So just making sure everything is nice and clean and tidy.
Here at the St. Regis Bermuda Resort, I am the lifestyle bartender, and my role is to curate drinks as well as create a memorable experience.
I really like to see when guests are here and they come and it's not a problem any day that they come. So I sit them down, I greet them. They get what they need for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Know them by name so they feel a bit more comfortable.
It's a getaway for me working at Grotto Bay at the front desk. Just dealing with different people throughout the day. You never know what type of guests you're gonna get. You meet people from all over the world, different backgrounds, different cultures, and it's just a great experience for me to meet them and help them with their experience.
The biggest smile on my face working is giving guests that experience that they come here for. Like, as a local, you want to give people a reason to want to come back to Bermuda, like give them create those memories for them to want to return here at a future date. Especially those that come here for the very first time. You want to leave a first impression that lasts on them. That's the most important one.
I feel like having Bermudians in the hospitality industry definitely kind of preserves our heritage. Everybody that comes to Bermuda, they want to see people in the Bermuda shorts and the socks and the blazers
who's better to wear that than us? Who's better to show people what we have better than us?
Because a lot of guests do want to have a Bermudian experience, not just the tourist part of it. So we're able to give them a little bit more insight of other things outside of tourist attractions that they can do and actually enjoy as well.
They appreciate it. They appreciate you taking the time to give them knowledge so that they can have the Bermuda experience.
It's going to be a lot of job opportunities. It's going to be a lot of job roles that's going to be put out there. And the money is definitely going to be there as well.
If you're coming out of college and you're unsure of what you want to do, hospitality is a good field to get into, working in a hotel specifically. There's many areas to move around to, and you can get a more sense of yourself working in hospitality, because it takes a strong individual to work in hospitality. So you do tend to mature a lot if you start out fresh from college. I've seen it, and it can assist you in finding out what you exactly want to do.
And young people, like, you have to think long term about it. You can't just look at short term, just like it was just a little job for right now. No, look like 20, 30 years down the road. And if you're like 40, 50 years old, then you can look back, see what you've accomplished, and that compared to where you are now, it's like, it's good. It's something to, definitely invest in.
I believe that the golden age of tourism for us is yet to come. The question is whether or not that we will have the pool within Bermuda, I'm talking about the local pool, that will be able to get themselves ready for the Bermuda to come, the Bermuda that exists now and the Bermuda to come. I believe that we have that talent out there. What we do from here has everything to do with what we are going to end up. And I believe the generation that exists today is going to see the value of hospitality and get involved. But it's our responsibility to create the environments that get them in here. We can do it. It's going to be tough. I think we can all make it happen.
Great video there by Bermeems on behalf of the Hotel Association, Bermuda Tourism Authority, and Workforce Development. We'll be speaking more about that tomorrow. Thanks again to our partners, Medical House One Communications, Lindos, and People's Pharmacy, for ensuring that we're able to do this with you on a daily basis. As always, we appreciate you, we love you, and we thank you for making us part of your daily routine. If all goes well, we'll be back to do this again with you tomorrow. She's Sherry Vanderpool. I'm Jamal Hartman. My friends, please do make it a great day. Peace.